Both of you ladies, Dawn is checking you in. She's tracking your time for class today. We're going to do that. Also, we are at the point where class have rotated back to business. So, um, y'all, we're talking business today. That's where we're gonna go. I just got in from Nashville, so please excuse the fact if I'm a little slow on the uptake. I hope y'all have notebooks. I hope y'all have things to go, especially you, Miss Whitfield, because you are already running a full blown empire, Queen. I am so glad to see that. So I'm gonna.
Thank you.
You are welcome, girl. I'm so damn proud of you. I'm gonna start off going into the business lecture. As y'all know, we have the YouTube, we have the podcast channel, and now we have this. And what I've noticed is school deletes these recordings after 24 hours. So if you need to go back and watch the replay, hey, Yuki baby, if you need to go back and watch the replay, then look in the notes. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad y'all babies are on here because if you know me, you know, Crystal can testify. I never teach the same subject the same way twice. It's just, I don't know. I blame it on the fact that I'm a Pisces and I give information as I learn, develop, and grow. So we rotated back to business. I am going to share my screen with y'all. Hold on one second. We're going to start with the slides. Is it sharing the screen? No. You over here. Let me bring you up here so that everybody can see it. So we're in module one again. We're talking about how to connect with your client, how to build your clientele, basically architecting industry authority and how to do it well. And you know, I believe that the universe don't make no mistakes, y'all. Like they don't make no mistakes. And I'm saying that and saying it's currently going through an influx of where you have to meet your clients in a way where it's authentic to who you are, it's personable to who you are, it's trending, and it's one of those things where it doesn't feel like they see you one way online or see you one way outside, however, I'm damn near 50. They put it, and then when they meet you, it's another way entirely. Communication is both verbal and nonverbal. But let me tell y'all, one of the biggest things is communication means your message has to be given and then received, right? And oftentimes we feel as companies that as long as we're giving the message, we are just talking to the client, it is going to help us grow, not realizing that on the other end of that, the message ain't being received. It's not being received. And one of the things I want to point out to that is when this is done, don't do it right now. You will know that one of the things we want to push at Aesthetics by P Brown in a very playful, almost smart assery way is our Brazilian wax membership, right? And let me tell you, gold, it happened, right? And Donna's a little mad at me for it because our wax memberships and people asking her questions has been blowing up. But if you go to our social media, we literally did a splice with um, a viral clip. Well, it's viral now. Let me go that. And then at the end of the clip, we promoted our Brazilian wax membership, which honestly, we are now two people away from locking out the quantity or the amount of memberships I make available because I do make our memberships limited to no more than 20 people per membership. And then they have to go on a wait list. Oh, hold on, baby girl. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, Let me see if there's a way to bring you in. It's gonna make me. Okay, that works. I'm sorry, we have a student trying to slide in, and she said it's not letting her in. I need to know. No, I was talking to the students. Hey, gorgeous, what is it telling you? Because we're on live now, so it should let you in. But we did it the way we did it because if y'all met me in person or otherwise, hell, if you follow our social media, you met me, you know that I have a very big knack of using sarcasm as my love language. And so we wanted to carry that along through. I'm sorry, I was trying to figure out why baby girl couldn't get in. So y'all are gonna see me. No, she should be good. I'm not sure why it's not letting her in. And so today we're going to talk about that communication style, not my communication style, but how to best connect with your clients. We're going to start with everything from writing styles and connecting emotionally to connecting with logic. And then we're going to segue that into business. And y'all, I cannot stress to you enough how this business section will probably be taught a different way than you heard it the first time. And we're going to probably do it 50 million different ways outside of that. If you are on Facebook, and you are not, and I'll drop it in our main conversation, and you're not a part of my free Portia's Inner Circle group, you should be there because as I'm developing portfolios, as I'm making business decisions, I'm also dropping those insights in that group because those entrepreneurs in that group, and there's somewhere around 377 of them, have been a part of my mentoring group for years. Some of them have. Dawn got you, baby. I had told her I would send her a list, a roll call list of everyone on the call tonight and make sure that anyone who is not clocked in is clocked in. But thank you. Hey, beautiful. Also, while we're talking about clock ins, and some of y'all are doing it, I want to make sure you know that once y'all are able to get in a Jibble and clock in, it asks you what you're clocking in for. So make sure that when you're on the live, you select that you're doing your classroom on the live. Now, Don will do it for this class because I want to make sure we have an accurate roll call. But the reason you want to make sure you're doing that is because that is how we report it to state. So they know which hours are classroom hours. That way, if they want to pull any of your assignments, they can. They know which are in person, which are on video. Even when we're doing the mock-offs, which y'all are at mock-off season, a lot of you. And so when I'm watching you do it, you want to make sure you categorize. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Let's talk about persuasion.
Marsha, can you hear me?
Yes, baby, I see you.
Okay. I wanted to ask you because I'm at Markov and I was trying to find one of the videos where you played, the video where she was doing the lashes.
Mhm.
Do you know where I can find that video? I asked Don about it and I haven't been able to get my hands on the video.
It should be on the list. Okay, what I will also do, because I think you're not the only one that is next day, if you could hop on a little earlier. So for the 4 p.m., I need to say the rotation. But we'll go on a little earlier at your class because I need to look at the schedule. I now do it and let y'all see it. I now have glasses that let me show video while I'm working. And so what I'll do is I'll do a live where y'all can watch me lash, if that helps. Next Sunday. Does that work for you? We can do it next
Yes,
Sunday.
yes, that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I can get consent from the people I already have on the books, Crystal, anyone who gives me consent to to record it, like while I'm doing it, I'll do a couple videos leading up to Wednesday so that you'll have those, and I'll make sure to drop them on the YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get started. Let me see. Share screen. Did I? No, I did not. Exit. Just a going. Okay. Let's talk about lashes, y'all. Or let's go back. Will it let me go back? I think the very first one. There we go. And then give it to me bigger. Okay. So what we are wanting to look like is the illusion of height versus the standard. And I am going to try to slide this out the way so that I can read as we go. The illusion, the hype machine, confidence on Instagram, TikTok, and in product launches does not equal credibility. The risk, blind optimism leads to costly mistakes when investing in training, purchasing new adhesives, or entering mentorships. The facade, a luxury lifestyle, expensive car, or massive following does not guarantee that a professional is properly licensed, safely operating, or ethically teaching. And this is important, y'all, because I cannot stress to you how much of what you see online is an illusion. I cannot stress to you how many shops in Tennessee are being closed down, fined, and people are going to court every day because they are not even taking the time to do step one. And let's read the state law book. Like, it's not even like it's costly, that's free, right? And now that I've said that, the same way I do these slides, the same way I take my lecture notes and turn them into these slides, I am going to, this evening, I will probably do it while you look at the video recap to these slides. I'm going to download the state law book and the current one because laws have changed, and we're gonna play that in there because knowing what this can cost you is half the battle, but having it delivered in a way where you can receive it is equally as important. You can get on social media all the time, and I've seen pretty social media. Y'all, I got some mentees right now. I have one in particular. She has 2.5 million followers, right? Beautiful, beautiful social media. She's not making a dime. She's entertaining 2.5 million. Well, she's making money now, so that's not good. But she pays me well to make sure I can translate those 2.5 million for her or show her how to translate it into dollars. But you have paying customers and then you have spectators. As the business owners, you need to be able to communicate to your client base, also know who that client base is, on how to keep them from being spectators. And now that I said that, after this, we're going to talk about how to determine who your client base is. Because money is money. If you follow our social media, you'll know I recently did a post, not today's post, but the one before that, where I was like, I got $1,000 chemical peel and I'm not sorry. I have $1,000 chemical peel and I'm not sorry. Because it's not for everybody, but the person it is for, I only got to sell one to make $1,000, right? And so this that we're teaching now is not about how do you reach the masses. It's about how do you reach the people and build the trust so that they pay you, so that you continue to grow and collect coins and make it through the seasons to come, right? So the standard, independent research, that is the ultimate shield. Protect your license, your clients, and your reputation. And step one in doing that is knowing and understanding what the law says, period, point blank. And then build your knowledge based off what the law gives you the right to do and what it tells you you absolutely cannot do. Okay? Verify the claims, questions, no damage systems, miracle growth systems, and unrealistic retention promises. The body is going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to shed every 28 days. If your lashes are not shedding in 14 and 28-day cycles, because no lash, your 150 lashes, so there's 150 per line. On average, there's 2 to 3 rows. So your 300 to 450 lashes per eye are not going to all be at the same point in the growth cycle at the same time. So they're going to do what they're going to do. So if this company is promising the retention of 4 weeks, something is wrong. It's either going to damage their eye and later have lawsuits, Latisse, or they're lying. Either way, it's a liability to you. If they are claiming that this is a foolproof system and it corrects all they're lying. They're lying. And what you can't be is the person who falls for the BS, right? Pause and inspect. If techniques are glossed over or it sounds too good to be true, step back and verify. Is it too good to be true? Okay. Did it not? Oh, it said pink. You ain't another thing. Charismatic influence versus cognitive trust. Let me tell you, good business owners have to have a little bit of both, especially if you're the visionary or the face of the company. Do you have to be the face of the company? No. You can hire someone that you feel is charismatic. But if you have a little bit of both, then that works. If you're more charismatic than you are in building cognitive trust, it comes out fake. Like you're too damn likable. What's wrong? Why do I feel like you being a snake oil salesman? But if you lean too far into cognitive trust, which is a deep evidence based, facts based type style, then it comes off as Miss Know It All, unapproachable, and, just not very likable. I don't know why, because I'm an introvert. So give me the facts and say less. But telling you from not just personal experience, but scientific study. So let's talk about how that works. Charismatic influence is usually fast and surface level. That's what's going to get their attention, right? How it works, it relies on fast networking, social media presence. It's an industry trap, right? So gatekeeping techniques and treating coworkers or students as if they're competition. It also is a limitation, or it has limitations, which is it's exciting initially, but fizzes out because it has no substance. It's highly fragile and easily broken by one single mistake. Because the problem is, if they jump on the bandwagon because they like you and there's no substance behind that charisma, there's no substance behind that likability, then the minute you are no longer likable, the minute they no longer feel that they can trust that safe, warm bubble that you put them in, they turn on you because they feel betrayed. Right? So, cognitive trust is deep and evidence based. It's built through consistency, it's built through integrity, it's verified evidence. And a lot of times, verified evidence in our field means you have not wavered. You're the same person you were today that you were 10 years ago, right? My personality across our social media has not changed. It has not changed. Mostly because I showed up as myself. 'Cause it's too much work when you're an introvert to show up as someone you're not. I can't keep it up. It would be false, it would ring false, and it would crumble in 90 days, much like some of these girls' relationships. Okay? I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, Industry application, check licensing, observe sanitation protocols, and evaluating actual student outcomes instead of marketing hype, right? A lot of you ladies are not aware, but Miladies just recently released their predictions on what schools are looking for in the coming years because so many traditional beauty schools have had to give their money back to the government or their students are not able to find employment. I remember we've been open a little at 14 years. Let me make sure that's correct. We're in 2026, 15 years. We've been open 15 years. I remember 10 years ago, I was teaching because I wanted to get into teaching. I needed to learn. I wanted the application at Genesis Career College. Then, much to most people's knowledge, they didn't know, apprenticeship schools were a thing. That was something that the state allowed, but schools chose not to do. And they chose not to do it because a true apprenticeship works similar to a nursing license, right? You get ready to go do your hands on experience and you go into a business. That business is definitely getting paid. That nurse that's an apprentice that is there doing her clinicals is not getting paid because she's a student. But that doesn't mean they're not billing insurance for those services. And so a lot of schools were like, who's going to volunteer to take on the liability of overseeing and training a student when we can keep the student in house, charge that same amount of money, and force them to be here 8 hours and get more money? Well, now I was like, I ain't got 8 hours to give. Like, if I were to own a school, which now I do, I wanted to reach out or get students, I'm going to go based off what I'm able to do, right? 8 hours is a lot. Bills is expensive. Kids, family, recreation time. And then in most schools, if you go to like Paul Mitchell, Genesis, things like that, depending on your program, you may or may not actually have clientele to work on, right? I remember them saying 10 years ago that an apprenticeship style school was the dumbest thing ever. It was the stupidest move to make, right? So I did what any reasonable visionary would do. I started my own school. Because no, I know these are problems for me. So I know there are problems for everyone else. In doing that, though, I had to provide evidence. Now that miladies are telling these schools to do it, and all these schools are trying to do it, I have the state board going, submit your evidence, submit your facts. Who have done the apprenticeship with you before? We see that your students, and y'all, I'm so damn proud of my students. Within 7 years, with the exception of two students from the very first class, we have not had a single student not clear state board when sent and not clear state board and make lower than a 90. It is 90 or above. Mwah, and I'm so happy. Now, we've had one student who I'm wrong. We've had two students score under a 90, but they still cleared it. Like they had it, they were not nervous, they got that turnover together. I am so damn proud of my students. But more importantly, because the other thing they told me was stupid, was I train y'all to work for yourselves. I'm training business leaders. I personally don't like the thought of anyone having control over me making money with a talent that I developed and cultivated that is given to me by the Most High. It bothers me. So you should know how to take your talent and make money. So now that I have the state going, okay, Portia, these schools, and they do, I just submitted it via email yesterday, and I'm going to have to talk about it in the state board on June 1st. But now they're trying to make the switch, and they're like, the only person who's been doing this for almost a decade is her, right? That's the evidence. That's verified, right? We are a licensed state school that has been doing what they are now a decade behind on. The other thing is industry application. We are licensed. We are following the handbook. We are following the laws, and we are showing results doing it. And I'm using us as an example because I try really hard not to point out flaws in other companies or other businesses when I can, because I don't like someone no sees, y'all. Um, Relational action, treating peers as humans, right? Pronouncing their names correctly. You might hear me ask how to say your name 50, 11 times. I'm from Arkansas, or even what you prefer to be called, because that's respect. I don't care if you tell me to call you a giraffe, I'm going to do it. You came to learn, we're going to teach a giraffe today. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I care about respect and dignity among your peers, as well as from me to you. And remembering client lifestyle needs. What are their allergies? What are their gym habits? What are their vacations? And being able to regurgitate it. So in our case, it's about making notes into your account. Evaluating influence, the professional dashboard, right? Let's talk about warnings and red flags. And I know when we are talking about these warnings and red flags, y'all, think of every single time you've been to a business and they've disappointed you. Every time, right? Were they not clear on their credentials, or could you, when disappointed, verify that they were what they said they were? Were they vague or invasive on their explanations of technical processes? Were you like, this is what I thought the process were, and they hemmed and hawed around it? Was it a high pressure sales tactic for courses or products, or do this now, right? Were they using flattery to deflect legitimate questions, right? Let me slide this. And selling secret methods with zero transparency. Where the hell do these secret methods come from? Right? We've all been somewhere and they're like, TikTok don't want me to tell you this, but join my free webinar so I can tell you. Whistleblowers happen, but usually they just blow the whistle and you be like, oh, shh, I'm not supposed to know this, but now I can't unknow this, right? You want to be transparent. You want verified certifications and credentials. You want clear, scientifically sound explanations of techniques. You want robust, easily accessible refund and support policies that also protects against chargebacks. Y'all, we have been in business a little over 15 years now. I have had one chargeback in 15 years. The people you see online that are like, oh, all these people are taking my money, it's because you didn't easily define your refund policy. If on your receipt you have a clearly stated refund policy, if on your website and your booking site you have a clearly defined refund policy, cards ain't just going to give money back. That's not how it works, right? A welcoming attitude towards guilt-free questioning. This is where I would go with that, and it's connected, not connected. If you read our reviews on Google, I'm told, it looks as if we purchased them because they all read very similarly. And here's the thing, 15 years, all of our reviews, we may have 2 or 3 negative reviews. And the reason for that is because I have never taken offense to constructive criticism. If you did not have a good experience, if you felt like my communication or even my staff's communication was poor, because as the owner of the company, I eat that because I am responsible for training them to interact with you, then the trust that is built for me and my clients, even brand new clients, which I love that that is done out the gate, is bring your issues to me, not the internet. Bring it, and I don't even have to say it. It's that charisma, that art of likability. Baby girl, tell me where we can improve, and we will improve. Now I'm going to push pin and say, as students, that go for y'all too. Okay, I'm a pioneer in this, but I'm still learning as we go. It's why Crystal will tell you this way I'm teaching the business with the slides and that is not the same way when her cohort started. Am I wrong, Crystal? I don't know if she can. She might be driving.
That's right.
Thank you. I just wanted someone to co-sign, girl.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And the reason I want y'all to know that is because we're gonna always evolve. We always have access. Girl, we are looking at your hand. I don't know if you can, Crystal.
My bad.
We are always evolving as a school. I take what you give me in feedback and I try to just elevate. I try to get better. And you have to have that. If you have that same standpoint with your clients, please give me feedback. I even ask, like when they're done, I'm like, what did you like about this experience? And what would you like to see me change about this experience? I've had people come get locks done with us, and then they'll go to another loctician because they can't get in with us. And y'all, it tickles me because they'll come in and they'll be like, no, I know it's a little off. I went to go see it. And I'm like, great. Compare and contrast. Give me, some feedback. What did you love about them that you would love to see here? Would you, because loyalty means they'll feel guilty. They'll feel like they're cheating on you. When I want your loyalty, but I don't want it at the cost of your guilt. I want it because we're the best. I want it because we're good at what we do and you feel at home in this establishment. We are a tribe. So give me feedback. And I had one client that was like, Portia, they charge by the hour, just like you charge by the hour, but their loctician was quicker, which made it cheaper. I really wish Mo was quicker. And I was like, bet. But Mo was almost 50. She's 49. Let me put you with Laisha, who's 29 and has been raised by Mo. So she got Mo's techniques, who went to school in Atlanta to learn the latest and greatest. And her speed is a little more, and then give me feedback, right? That builds trust because now that client, and this is a real life scenario, who was like, I only want Mo, I only want Mo, by going to this other braider, she got to experience a quicker braid. So now I have to work, I'm at this locks. So now I have to work less hard, because it was hard, to get her to try the younger, quicker loctician because of that experience. And you know what? She loved it. She loved it. She loved the price point. She still felt at home. She still felt connected. And now the trust is I can come and tell Portia when I have a problem. Portia will make adjustments. And rightfully so, because Portia is asking for your coins, right? You want to make sure that you are creating that environment. And let me tell y'all, early on, 15 years ago now, I was listening to this podcast, and it's hard to find it now, but I think you might be able to find it on YouTube. And it's called The Art of Likability. He is hilarious if you get it. I'll look on YouTube to see if they still have snippets of it because the podcast itself is no longer up. Um, but one of the things that became abundantly clear is people will stay with and spend money with people they like, trust, and know. And the one thing I hated about schools and businesses is if you were only nice to me when I was swiping my card, and if you only acted like you cared about me when it benefited you. And the thing y'all will find about me is you're going to get the same portion now and 5 years from now. All of my students will tell you that. I am always here for you to talk to and help you grow. Now, you may not always like the feedback I give, right? But I will always give you the feedback in love. Why? Because you shouldn't have to learn from the same mistakes I did. You shouldn't walk into the same bear traps I walked into. That being said, I will give you my feedback and then I'm going to be like, but learn because my experience may not be your experience, right? You might do it that way, and whereas it bit the out of me, it might create a mountain of fortune for you because what God has for you is for you. And some learning experiences have to be learning experience. So there are no losses in the journey, right? But I will always be genuinely here to receive you, listen to you, and help you develop and grow. And so those are things that you want to look at when dealing with my company, when looking at my business. What are the things I hated? What are the things I wish someone had done for me? Right? I once put, I think it's been, shit, I don't know, 4 years. But I remember one of the things I put in our mentoring group and on our social media is I became the superhero I prayed for when I was trying to start out. I try to give y'all everything. I wish people didn't gatekeep because let me tell you what I feel about gatekeeping. There's more than enough out here for everybody, y'all. There is no industry that is suffocating. You just can't deliver it. 10,000 people can't deliver it the same way. That's a saturated system. But there are 5 different learning styles. And someone is leaving a learning style out. If you can, Miss Rachel is Miss Rachel because Miss Rachel is hitting three of the four learning styles or five learning styles, right? You have auditory, you have visual, you have kinetic, you have all these things that engage the kids, right? No matter what you do, the money is there. The people who gatekeep, in my opinion, are people who have limited knowledge. So if they give you what little knowledge they have, then they don't have nothing to sell you on the back end. So they got to gatekeep it. They got to keep it close to the cuff because it's all they got. They're not growing. They're not developing. They're not learning more things, right? They're stuck in a box. But that's just my hypothesis. I could be wrong. I'm probably not though, right? So the three pillars of professional authority. Nonverbal authority, that's your appearance, that's your presence, that's your bias awareness. I could be wrong. I always say that. I am aware. Okay. That's controlling the immediate visual narrative and mediating assumption, right? Let's have a conversation and then walk around it. I want to point out that in the recent video that we currently have going ridiculous numbers on our social media, I'm talking about, I think we're over 15,000 views at this one on today's. And I'm not even going to hold you. I knew it would be funny. I thought it was funny. I didn't think it would be 15,000 views funny. I'm glad it's making me money. That was the end game. But if you're looking at it, we're promoting our Brazilian waxes. What I did not do in this splice video, because the guy in the video was talking about the fact that the girl needed a wax, right? And he was doing it in a very condescending way. What I did in an equally condescending way is talk about a solution to the problem and the price point at which you can find it at our business. I didn't tear anyone down because that's not who we are. We're tribal. I did it in a way where no one focused on the fuckery that came out of his mouth. I mean, it was funny, but it was uncalled for. And I looped it around to the business and what we offer only, right? That's nonverbal authority. It's not about what I said, it's more about what I didn't say. It's about how I handled that because you can go viral for all the right reasons or all the wrong, right? Relational authority, persuasion, rhythmic and boundaries, work and boundaries. Okay. Building unshakable cognitive trust through logic, credibility, and empathy. Here's what I know, y'all, and I mean this for love, is if you're critical of someone online, your client's fear is always going to be that you're going to give them that same criticism if they don't meet the mold or image in your head, right? If you criticize or talk about clients to clients in your treatment room, your client is going to not trust you because in their mind, you're going to talk about me when I'm not there. Now, do I got jokes all day long? Do I do it with the client all day long? The jokes, the stories, the things you hear me say on repeat, I said it to the person first and I got their permission to repeat it to others. So it became a tribal, note the words because that's the brand, a tribal community conversation, not gang up on this person, not pick on this person. And anyone who knows me knows that the one thing I do not tolerate, y'all, is bullying. I can't stand a bully. And I am always for the underdog, and I will go in so disrespectfully, mostly because I have the intelligence level, the sarcasm level, and the vocabulary to do it. Right? So, as a tribe, we're about supporting, uplifting. You can laugh at people's mistakes. If you can only laugh at their mistakes if they're laughing at it themselves. You can only criticize something if you have a solution. Period. That's how we operate. If you don't, I ain't trying to hear none of that. You know what I'm saying? Structural authority. And I want to say on all of these pillars, notice they end with authority. Because as the business owner, you are the police. You are the authoritarian. If you crumble, if you fold, if you lose grasp of the situation, of the tribal communication, that's a direct reflection of you and your business. Okay? There's no excuse for that as the business owner. It's no, well, they're grown. Why are you creating an environment or a space where people feel comfortable enough going left? You feel what I'm saying? Structural authority, written communication and policy, protecting your time, protecting your license and business through precise, confident writing. The appearance of biases and the filter of professionalism, right? Skill and value is perceived authority. The bias is usually somewhere in between. That's why we're doing it as a funnel. Your skill and your perceived value. Because let me tell you what I've learned in these mini is people's actual value and their perceived value sometimes don't meet up. It's why you will hear me say, find your clients, get your clients while you're a student, charge what you're worth while you're a student. You want, if there's going to be a discount, do it while you're a student and an apprentice because the perceived value is always lower if you're learning the task, if you're a student. But don't do $20 lashes that fall out within a week and try to charge $150. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because now when you have a $120 skill level, no one is going to trust that because you overvalued your skills out the gate. So how can they trust you know the value of your skills now? Right? So that bias filter is somewhere in the middle. And its professional standards are sometimes rooted in outdated norms. We must actively recognize biases regarding hair texture, race, gender, expression, and body type. Also, skill level. I haven't added that in, but I will. Um, because people make assumptions, right? The litmus test. Am I judging their skill or am I reacting to their appearance alone? Do you know what tickles me, y'all? Um, I thank God every day for the financial blessings on my life. I do. I swear I do. But you know what? Perfect example. Look at you, God. Look at you. I'm going to tell y'all about a date I went on recently. So this gentleman wanted to meet me in a park. I'm fine with that. I usually don't like to go on restaurant dates for first dates, mostly because I can afford to feed myself sometimes better than they can. And it gives me anxiety when I got to figure out what the fuck is this person's budget. Because what I really, 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 really want is the 8 ounce filet mignon with shrimp. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. There's a place here in Clarksville called Mr. Tater Heads. It's a black owned business. It's like a hibachi grill, but stuffed into a baked potato. My potato is $50 because I like filet mignon on it. I like my prongs pronging. I like my chicken, all of that in there, right? So I don't like lunch dates. That's beside the point. The point is, so we're on this date, and this guy looks at me because I pulled up in the Prius, the 2015, because I had on black yoga pants and a t-shirt. And he goes, I'm so glad you were okay with meeting and chilling in the park. Because, by the way, I love outside, so it was a beautiful day. Because most women are about money, but I just want you to know I make more money than you. I said, okay, I'm glad. I'm glad to know that you make more money than me. I appreciate the feedback. What made that statement true? And he was like, well, your Prius could use a paint job. And he starts picking all this material set apart. He's a forklift operator. I'm pretty sure he don't make more money than me. But what I realized is his bias was even though I was a business owner, even though I was comfortable in my own right, because I didn't pull up in a luxury car, because I didn't step out with the Gucci belt and the Hermes slides, and all of these things, I got to be broke. I got to be struggling. And because I was okay with the park date versus no, take me to wherever, he clearly makes more money than me. That's a problem that we have even in businesses. A person will show up, and I do, y'all. Let me tell you what I've learned about money. It's beautiful. Is if you can afford to pay for the meal, the dress code don't exist, right? There's a steakhouse in Nashville that has a very strict dress code. They know every time I show up, I'm gonna order a steak, usually with shrimp, two sides, and I'm gonna get it to go. And they let me get it to go, even though the menu don't let you get it, like they don't do to go orders. And I usually will show up fresh out of work. It's called the standard, in yoga pants, a hoodie, and in that same Prius. And they don't buck. Why? Because they know I'm about to drop $400 on this meal because I'm craving this meal and I don't care about the price and they don't care about what I got on, right? But oftentimes we talk ourselves out of a sale because we're busy chasing the person who looks like they have the money for the ticket instead of focusing on the person who's quietly coming in and going, just take my money, but give me the best job, right? How are you judging your client? Who is that person? Because I will tell you, I'm also the client that will come in. I'm not going to haggle you about price. I don't have time for that. I knew your price. I showed up when I was ready to pay for your price. I may or may not be talkative because I'm an introvert. So I may quite possibly have in some earbuds, lay down and go to sleep. I ain't even going to hold you. But if I don't like your service, I'll also just never rebook with you. It's not about can I afford it? It's about do I feel like the service was worth the dollar? And rather than have the back and forth or the conversation, sometimes I'll just leave. And if you don't do follow up, if you don't initiate it, if you don't, I'll be like, well, that was a learning experience. We won't go there again. And now the story that is being shared is how that wasn't worth the pricing, right? But you don't know because you let that person leave. And oftentimes, what I've seen in my mentees is they be like, if they were broke, just say that. You don't know if they were broke. Let me tell y'all, my business was built off Groupon clients. I have more clients that I have found on Groupon that own hotels, gas stations, doctors' offices. I have two country music stars that while they are my NDA stars, they first came to me with a Groupon and they hat low and all the things. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And now they are and have been for 10 years. I have a treatment room in their house, can't say their names. They pay me top dollars. Like, you don't know a person's backstory. So you want to charge what you're worth and only judge people off their skill or what they're showing you. Now, if they have a nasty attitude, then you can judge them off that. Going down that drop, let's talk about brand communication. Appearance is not vanity. It signals sanitation awareness, skill, confidence, and respect for the craft. Y'all brush your teeth, clean your, wash your hands. Don't come in with stains. Don't come in with tattered clothes. I will often be seen sometimes in yoga pants and a tank top, but I promise you it's matching down to the socks because I'm a 90s baby. Um, and you want to be clean cut in appearance. You don't want to look like you got bleach stain on your clothes, just rolled out of bed, and didn't brush your teeth. The baseline: clean, intentional attire and well groomed hygiene. We just talked about that. Fitted to your specific role, right? Sometimes I'm in yoga pants, sometimes I'm in scrubs, sometimes I'm dressed for a lecture. It's going to depend on what it is, who I'm addressing, and what it calls for, right? The liability: pajamas, stained clothes, or sloppy presentation instantly signals carelessness, regardless of actual technical skills. If you don't care enough about yourself to look like something, how do they trust you care enough about yourself to take care of what them, right? You're not taking care of you. I recently did a I was like, women out here praying God send them a man to love, and they still struggling to love themselves. How can you give someone else what you can't give yourself, right? Navigating connection, the safe zone radar, right? Let's not talk about politics. Limit industry gossip because you get to talking about Nicki Minaj and there's a Nicki Minaj fan on your table. Y'all gonna probably go left. Client and peer bashing. You want to stay in the safe zone. What are your beauty goals and aesthetics goals? Business growth and entrepreneurship, education, journey, and industry challenges. Those type of things, because that will also help you learn your client and get feedback from your client to become a better version of yourself. What in the world? Okay. Key principle. Your lash room must operate as an emotionally neutral, safe, and calm space. Common ground builds trust, but crossing boundaries destroy it. Let's talk about the triad of ethical persuasion. Logos, those are facts, y'all. Logic, logos. Ethos, that's emotion. How did they feel, right? And pathos, pathos is going to be your action, your empathy. What did they see? And how did it invoke how did they feel, right? So, logos, the mechanism is appealing to knowledge, data, and evidence. The way that would look as a lash application, explaining lash retention via natural growth cycle, using aftercare science to justify policies, displaying accurate timeline photos instead of promising instant results. E- Ethos, that mechanism, let me slide this over so I can see it, is going to be appealing to character, experience, and reputation to reduce resistance. How does that look on the Lash application? Highlighting your license, specific certifications, verified client retention rates, and maintaining a consistent online presence. Pathos, the mechanism, appealing to values, lived experiences, and empathy. That is validating your fear or your client's fear before their first model, right? So if you're a student, me validating your fear before your first live model, helping a client regain confidence after hair loss, acknowledging concerns instead of dismissing them. Sometimes it's as simple as we just got to listen. Audience alignment and strategic delivery. Scenario, long-term client choosing a lash color. Strategy, quick, direct communication. The more trust you have, the less explaining you need. Over explaining makes you look like you're not credible. I cannot stress that. It's almost like I got to convince you before I can, right? Scenario, enforcing a strict refund policy or major internal salon change. Strategy, lead with supporting facts, address known objections, proactively end with a firm conclusion. Scenario, no client requiring corrective work. I'm sorry, new client requiring corrective work or new student resisting sanitation standards. Strategy, high detail, heavy reassurance, address emotional resistance, misalignment or fear, and then first, then guide to logical solutions. Structural authority and communication efficiency, right? Messaging apps. We all use them, we love them. Here's the thing. They're reserved for quick team updates and immediate schedule changes. 90% of your communication with people you work with, whether it be your clients or coworkers, that should not all be done through messaging. Text messaging, Square. It's one of the things me and Dawn talk about a lot because there'll be certain things where I'm like, she'd be like, yeah, yeah, I text them. Dawn, that requires a call, right? Not everything text message is reserved for quick updates and immediate schedule changes. Hey, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm on my way, but I'm stuck in traffic. And if you know that that client doesn't respond or read their text message often, you might need to call them, right? That call is a sign of respect. If you call first and don't get them, then shoot a text. Hey, I just called. It went to voicemail. Just wanted you to know I'm stuck in traffic, right? Email, the standard for enforcing policies, sending confirmations, and formal follow up. That's very cut and dry. Baby girl, did you get my email that's telling you I'm not going to see you next week? Okay, that means I'm not seeing you next week, right? Those are what emails are for. Memos, those are utilized for internal procedural shifts and salon changes. This is what I will say about memos, though, y'all. Sometimes you need a memo to yourself. Utilize them to yourself, develop the system, get into the habit. So as you grow and you bring on other staff, and you be like, hey, did you check your Notions app to see what memos I threw up? You now have a habit because you did it when it was an employee of one. Letters, that means in the mail to the client. The highest of formalities, used exclusively for vendors, legal matters, and official partnerships. And then your reports. These are data-driven delivery for sales tracking, client retention metrics, and educational outcomes, right? Let's talk about the structure of a purpose driven message. Now, I want to pause here before we go there, and I just want to get a pulse on it. How are y'all doing so far? Is everyone still with me? If so, just say yes in the chat if you can. You're with me, Crystal. Thank you. You with me, Miss? I knew Miss Louise would be. Okay, okay. Andrea, you with me?
Yes.
Okay. You too, baby. You still with me? Yuki said, I'm listening, but I'm busy. It's okay. Oh, wait, you got the chat. That's what I like about you, Queen. Okay. I got everybody with me. Thank you, Queen. You got the chat. I like that. Okay. Let's see. We're going to talk about the structure of a message. Because I think, and for those of y'all who we're going to slowly incorporate AI. But I feel like what we lose in communication with clients is the proper structure. Like it either becomes too friendly or not friendly enough, right? So late arrivals past 15 minutes will be rescheduled, right? Identify your argument. That's what we did here. Identified your argument. Do not bury the lead. Late arrivals past 15 minutes. Then put the most important information first. Time is money, right? Will be rescheduled, period. I don't care if your next person is an hour later. What you don't want to do, I won't say that. If that is your policy, is what I'll say. Because it sometimes things happen and we shift times. I've done that. But we are very much at my salon a what's good for the gander is good for the goose salon. So when we do that, one of the things that I don't think people realize is we have a policy where if you're 25 minutes late, I'm sorry, 15 minutes late, we charge you $25. If we're 15 minutes late, we give you a $25 credit, which comes out of the staff's commission because why aren't you on time? Right? So if I have to shift appointments down, that's $25 for each person I had to shift. If you absolutely have to get a service that day and I need to make those shifts, you need to pay me that money. So your appointment just went up. And that's only if I have the time and ability to do so, right? This policy ensures, because this full thing is the message, we're breaking the message down into three parts. Not burying the lead, late arrivals past 15 minutes will be rescheduled. Then we're going to follow that to the client by saying, this policy ensures we do not compromise the adhesive curing time or impact the next client schedule service. This provides a logical context to why you ain't seeing them, right? If the message may be unpopular or face resistance, follow it with supporting facts because you can't argue with facts. It is what it is. I can't cut your drying time short. and I can't push their appointment back without consequences. And your late planning does not mean they should have to deal with those consequences, right? Clear, conclusive next step. So a call to action. Please click here if you want to rebook. Please click here if whatever, whatever. So in my case, it's usually Dawn will be reaching out to you shortly to get you rescheduled. Honestly, this whole thing is handled by Dawn, so she goes with the next steps. But the call to action, the resolution, right? End with a clear conclusion. Rule. If your message lacks a clear purpose or argument, do not hit send. A lot of the back and forth you see, in my opinion, on the internet is because the lead gets buried in the 50 million paragraphs of policy. Write your policy and then figure out how it needs to be delivered. When they book an appointment, your cancellation policy needs to be right at the top of your booking. And it should be short and it shouldn't be 15 paragraphs, right? And then when they get that reminder email, it should be right there on that email. And then when they get their e-receipt, it should be on their e-receipt. There are several touch points where they had the opportunity to do it. If you use a virtual assistant or AI assistant, when they call, then that assistant needs to be like, just as a reminder, and give that policy, right? It's how you prevent chargebacks. Let me make sure. There we go. When you are looking at the linguistics of it, the anatomy of your language, right? If it's confident language, it's going to be projecting authority. Phrases to adopt, right? Direct, confident statements rooted in experience and policy. We recommend washing your lashes daily to ensure maximum retention and follicle health. We recommend. The result, it establishes boundaries, increases cognitive trust, and signals competence. I do not personally recommend that they wash it daily, but that's neither here or there. It's honestly going to be based on you as a lash tech. Uncertain language gives them wiggle room to play in your face, right? That's important. Hold on, make sure this doesn't, because y'all know my laptop will quit on me so quick. It will be like, "Oh, you were trying to work? My bad." It gives them room to play in your face. So eliminate maybe, I think, and it seems like, right? It might be recommended. My clients hear me, nah, we ain't doing that. Or look, if you want to do it, you're gonna accept responsibility for it, right? You want to make sure that you speak. And if you don't know, let me tell you a phrase um that gives great authority, right? I have no clue. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I say that a lot, but I'll find out and I'm going to follow up with you. Let me research this matter further and then I'll give you a call and we'll have a chat. What time tomorrow are you good? Right? But then you have to actually do what you say you're going to do. My hypothesis is if we do this, this will happen. Let me look into it though and follow up with you. That establishes authority because it tells them that when they run into an obstacle that neither one of you have an answer for, you will take the lead to find an answer. And they can trust your ability to lead them there. Right? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Or flat out lying says neither one of us have the answer and I can't trust you to go find it because you hemming and hawing. Okay. Don't be scared to say I don't know. Visual substance, all this is basically saying is good formatting supports but never replaces the actual substance of a message. A lot of people will have a lot of pretty messages that sound like a toddler wrote them, right? Utilize clear headers, Break up large blocks of text. Don't just let it be huge. Keep run on paragraphs and keep paragraphs short to avoid overwhelming your clients. There's a reason Twitter threads are as popular as they are. And that reason is because 150 characters is the capacity, right? Do not overwhelm your client. Try to keep your policies at 150 characters. Even if you look at your school, you'll notice that there are spaces that sometimes unnecessarily large spaces, but it's because I know I've given you a lot or a heavy context, and we need to give your mind a break, right? And those spaces do that. The proofreading shield, the risk of errors, incorrect client name, confusing policies, misunderstood instructions, severely damage credibility and cognitive trust. The professional habit, read twice, have a second person view high stake documents, always define acronyms before sending it. IDK is not professional. But more importantly, asking ChatGPT to write you a letter and not reading a letter. I'm telling you, it will get you every time because they be like, I don't even know what she talking about. I ain't even get the Lash swimming bag 2.76 because they're going to pull from the internet, right? Then we're going to talk about the ethical influence ecosystem, right? Your appearance communicates respect, biases, awareness, and ensures fairness. Logos, that is logos, ethos, and pathos, they lock together to replace shallow charisma and deep cognitive, right? Your active voice, your clear formatting, and your precision writing protects your boundaries. That's that that's that trinity. So you got your presence, you got your persuasion, and you got your policy. You have your nonverbal, your relational, and your structural. And all that is going to dump into what your ethical influence tells people. Never influence someone into a decision they may regret later. Y'all, we just had a client who took down her locks. Her beautician decided to become a loctician. And I feel so bad for this lady because this lady, her beautician talked her into, as a long-standing beautician, into getting locks. Then she felt trapped in those locks for 5 years. Don't ask me why I'm alternating between coffee and pink lemonade. I swear I judge myself sometimes. Um, and then she really hated it. Like she was miserable. And she ended up having to pay us 2 grand because she had a lot of hair, $2,000 to take those locks down because the person she trusts influenced her into a decision that she later regretted because she didn't really want it. What she wanted was to keep her hairstylist, who she eventually left anyway because now she doesn't trust her because she influenced her into something she really did not want. How will your precise actions, intentional communication, and professional presence shape the way the industry experiences your authority tomorrow? Right? Let's go back. Hold on one second, y'all. I need to move this over. And then what I'm sharing with you now is the video recap.
Look at this perfectly polished aesthetic. It is exactly what we are taught to aim for in the lash industry. Social media feeds and marketing campaigns are loud, projecting an environment saturated with absolute confidence. But there is a dangerous assumption embedded in this noise. The idea that a curated lifestyle, high charisma, and a flawless grid automatically equal technical skill and ethical business practices. This emotion-driven marketing is designed to overwhelm your critical thinking. Relying on this blind optimism leads to serious risks. It is how professionals end up investing in poor training, toxic mentorships, or damaging lash systems. The antidote to this aesthetic manipulation is cognitive trust. This is trust built strictly on verifiable evidence. Things like active licenses, strict sanitation protocols, and consistent clinical outcomes. Making the shift to cognitive trust requires discipline. You must pause and aggressively question product or educator. It sounds too good to be true. Long-term survival in this demanding industry means stripping away the visual noise and building a foundation on verifiable structural competence. Charisma works fast to build shallow rapport. Actual cognitive trust works slowly, running much deeper. To filter out bad actors, we use a diagnostic framework. This sidetracks the red flags, individuals pushing secret methods or using high-pressure sales tactics. The other sidetracks the structural elements that actually prove credibility. This means demanding to see state licenses, checking refund policies, and verifying sanitation protocols. You need to watch for practitioners who use flattery or point to their luxury lifestyle to avoid answering direct questions about their specific techniques. Verifying claims is a non-negotiable professional responsibility. When a brand promises a no-damage lash system or a miracle growth serum, you have to demand the data. You have to look past the packaging and understand the biological and chemical reality of the products touching your client's skin and eyes. Independent research is not administrative homework. It is the primary defense mechanism you have to protect your license and ensure your client's health. Evaluating authority through a strict cognitive filter is the only reliable way to separate dangerous marketing from safe, ethical lash practices. Once you can filter out bad influence, you need to know how to project your own authority ethically to your clients and staff. This animated triangle represents the Aristotelian triad. It is a framework for persuasive communication that balances logic, credibility, and emotion. The first corner is logos. In the salon, this means appealing to biological facts, like this 30-day lash growth and shedding cycle. You use this biological data to justify your salon policies and retention timelines, rather than enforcing arbitrary rules. The second corner is ethos. This connects directly back to those cognitive trust markers, your verifiable licenses, certifications, and clinical sanitation logs. Projecting this clinical awareness and proven experience reduces client resistance before a consultation even begins. They trust the authority of your credentials. The final corner is pathos. This is the mechanism for building genuine human connection without crossing professional boundaries. Pathos means validating a client's anxiety over hair loss or calming an apprentice's fear right before they work on their first life model. And the physical execution of your service must match the precision of your communication. The technical skill validates the spoken word. True persuasive communication relies on the ethical alignment of biological logic, verifiable credibility, and emotional validation. Even with a strong rhetorical foundation, effective communication requires precise calibration to the specific audience in front of you. This scatterplot helps determine how much detail a client or staff member actually needs. We plot the importance of the decision against their emotional resistance to it. Here, we have low-importance, low-resistance scenarios, like choosing a lash color preference. Decisions with this kind of low impact should be executed efficiently. You prioritize speed over deep rhetorical explanation. Conversely, policy enforcement and refunds set in the high-importance, high-resistance quadrant. Your boundaries and income are directly challenged here. The strategy for these highly resistant scenarios is clear. Lead with supporting facts, address objections immediately, and put the most important information first. To limit operational ambiguity, you must strip passive, uncertain vocabulary from all professional communication. Phrases like, "it might be recommended that," weaken your authority. Replacing them with the active voice, like, "we recommend," instantly commands respect. Time is money for both you and your client. Clear formatting, headers, and immediate conclusions are professional standards. And poor proofreading, like incorrect names or confusing instructions, instantly damages the credibility you've painstakingly built. Structural rigor in your writing and an active voice are the ultimate tools for enforcing business boundaries without alienating your clients. All these conceptual frameworks that we have discussed ultimately play out in the physical environment of the salon space. The rigor of your writing and the logic of your rhetoric have to be reflected in the physical reality of your studio and your personal presentation. Intentional appearance and hygiene signal sanitation awareness and respect for the craft. At the same time, we must recognize the bias inherent in traditional appearance standards. It is a professional responsibility to create an inclusive environment for diverse expressions and natural hair. This aligns with the golden rule of ethical influence in the industry. Never manipulate a client, student, or peer into a decision they may later regret. The lash room must remain emotionally neutral, safe, entirely free from gossip or client bashing. When you combine the diagnostic tools of defense with the active tools of persuasion, they form a solid metallic shield. Unifying your cognitive trust evaluation with active, clear communication creates an impenetrable professional defense. True influence relies on consistency and integrity over years of practice, not fast-acting charisma. By anchoring your practice in verifiable competence, backing your confidence with data, and communicating with clarity, you permanently protect your reputation, your business, and the health of your clients.
Mm. Okay, y'all. So I am going to switch y'all because we're winding down to the last couple minutes. I'm going to switch y'all to the art of picking your clients, honestly. The next step in it would be mastering wealth, but I want to talk about what is the word I'm looking for? Book yourself solid system. So the art of finding clients. Give me 1 second. So that you are making the best possible or selling decisions early on. So the system that I used was Book Yourself Solid. It was a very good system. It keeps my books booked at, I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. It keeps my books booked at about 85 to 90%. Spiritual self relaxation. Here we are. And then after this, we'll be good to go for today.
Welcome to The Explainer. In this guide, we're going to crack open the playbook and persuasion. We're actually combining the core ideas of 3 modern masters into a single, really powerful framework.
You know, it's a question we've all asked ourselves. Why do some people just seem to have this knack for selling and persuading, almost without trying? Well, the answer isn't some secret handshake or some slick, aggressive tactic, and it's definitely not about having the so-called gift of gab.
The real secret is that it's all about mastering persuasion from the inside out. So today, we're pulling together insights on mindset, on messaging, and on tactics to give you a complete framework for communication that's not just effective, but actually feels authentic.
All right, let's dive right in, starting at the absolute foundation, your mindset. For this, we're drawing on the work of the legendary sales guru Brian Tracy, who argues that top-level success, well, is never an accident. Tracy takes the Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule, and he applies it directly to sales. And what he noticed, kind of crazy. In pretty much every industry, the top 20% of salespeople were taking home 80% of all the money. So the very first step is surprisingly simple. You just have to decide that you want to be in that top 20%.
So what's the real difference maker? What is it that separates those top performers? Tracy calls it your self-concept. A good way to think of it is like the master program running on your subconscious computer. It dictates everything you do and, most importantly, how much you truly believe you're worth. And this, right here, this is the part that changes everything. Tracy says your mind basically has a financial thermostat. If you internally see yourself as, say, a $50,000 a year person, your subconscious will literally find ways to sabotage you to keep you right there. To earn more, you have to consciously go in and raise that internal setting first.
So the big question is, what's keeping that thermostat stuck on low? Well, Tracy boils it all down to 2 massive subconscious fears, the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. Both of these are rooted in a low self-concept, and they are the main roadblocks holding most people back from what they could really achieve.
Okay, so once you've dialed in that inner game, once your mindset is rock solid, it's time to focus on the outer game. And for that, we're going to look at a super powerful messaging framework from marketing expert Ashley Brock. She calls it the RAIN method, and it's a really clear 4-step process. First, R is for resonance. Your message has to connect to a real, tangible problem. Next, A is for articulation. How you say something matters just as much as what you're saying.
Third, I is for identifiability. You have to call out your exact audience. And finally, N is for necessity, and you create that by getting incredibly specific.
You know, a huge part of creating that resonance is knowing who you're talking to. Brock breaks people down into 4 main buyer types. Are you talking to an analytical person who needs all the data and proof? Or an amiable who really needs to build that trust and relationship? Maybe it's an expressive who gets fired up by the big vision and the excitement. Or is it a driver who just wants the results, fast? You've got to speak their language.
This quote, this one really just nails the core of Brock's entire philosophy. See, a vague claim like, I help businesses grow, that's just noise. It gets totally ignored. But saying something hyper-specific like, does your operations director call you at 6:30 p.m. with urgent decisions for the 17th time this month? Well, that cuts through. It demands attention because it feels painfully, specifically real. Right. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. And this is a master-level tactic from entrepreneur Alex Hormozi that leverages the one thing that most people desperately try to hide, their flaws.
Hormozi calls this the damaging admission. It sounds a little crazy, right? But think about it. In a world that's just filled with hype, being radically honest about your shortcomings makes you stand out immediately. It builds this instant layer of trust because you're telling the truth, even when it's not the most flattering thing to say.
The real magic here is all in the structure of the sentence. Hormozi points out that the word but acts like an eraser. It basically cancels out whatever came before it and shines a giant spotlight on whatever comes after. So you always want to lead with the negative. This is going to be a lot of work, but you'll make a ton of money. You own the downside first to make the upside feel even bigger and more believable.
And here is a perfect, almost cheeky example. By framing a supposed negative, paying more in taxes, it makes the positive outcome, which is obviously making a ton of money, seem completely undeniable. It's so clever because it just assumes the result is a given.
So here's the most important part. You can't see these as 3 separate ideas. They're not. They stack on top of each other to create one single, unified strategy. It all has to start with Tracy's inner game. You've got to build that unshakable foundation, truly believing you deserve to be in that top 20%. From there, you channel that newfound confidence into Brock's outer game, crafting a specific, resonant message that speaks directly to the person right in front of you.
And then the final layer, the thing that makes it unstoppable, is you supercharge that whole message with Hormozi's tactic of radical honesty, leading with the drawbacks to make your claims completely, utterly believable.
And there you have it. That's the complete persuasion playbook. You start by building your self-concept because you become what you think about. Then you use that confidence to know your buyer and create a hyper-specific message. And finally, you seal the deal by leading with your flaws to build unbreakable trust.
So I'll leave you with this question. What is one honest, damaging admission that could totally transform your very next conversation? Really think about that. Because in a world that is drowning in hype, maybe the most persuasive thing you can be is radically, strategically honest.
Alrighty, y'all, we have reached the end of this lesson. Now, I will say on that last thing, I think that has been the genuine consensus in my brand. We do this thing, or I do this thing, where I'm usually sitting there drinking bone broth because I make and sell bone broth kits through the farm. And it'll say something like drinking my skincare while thinking about my day, and it'll have affirmations going over it, or an audio sound, an affirmation sound, and they're really popular. But in reality, what I'm doing is speaking to myself, right? I need to put up a clip because I'm told that it's very important I stay consistent in that, even though I'm from a generation where you don't pull back the curtain. So being creative with giving you enough to understand the experience, but not so much that I'm showing parts of the process that the client may not want you to see, because not the client wants to be on camera, is a balance, but also showing the moments when I'm having quiet moments with myself, drinking my skincare. And I don't know why I did quotations, because I really be drinking bone broth. And I love it. And I'm sharing those vulnerable moments. And I am okay with laughing at myself. Like, that is not something that I've ever had a problem with doing, because I own every part of who I am. So being vulnerable, because if this is a fear for you, then chances are it's going to also be a fear for your client base, right? and being vulnerable from the start so that your clients don't feel like they've been lied to or hoodwinked or mistreated or any of those things. They are now in the trenches with you, as I like to say. That holds true, especially in times like now when there's a recession, right? It feels like a recession. Milk $47. Or during the COVID shutdown. Clients want to be equally engaged with you in a genuine, authentic way. And sometimes that does mean showing your flaws. One of the things I used to do and I will still do is I'm from Arkansas, y'all. Them tongue twisters be tongue twisting. Okay. So sometimes when trying to pronounce certain words, I'm like, look, I'm struggling to say it, but I can spell it. You know what I mean? I'm very genuine. And whereas in other situations that discredits somebody's knowledge level, I've made it, I've perfected it and owned it to the point where people are like, yes, she did say she was from Arkansas. Okay, that is a tongue twister, things like that. And so if you make it awkward, they'll make it awkward. And unfortunately, in today's society, if you make it seem like a big deal, they'll drag it to hell. So own the flaws. Let them know that this is who I am, but that does not take away from the fact that I am equipped and empowered and here and perfectly capable to help you. Okay. I am looking your notifications, y'all, because it does send you a notification in school when these recordings are available. And then they disappear after 14 days. I want to say they erase them from the cloud. The problem is sometimes they let me download it, sometimes they don't. The animations that y'all see when we're on these, those are mine. I can put those on our YouTube page. So I'm going to do a mass upload today of those when we get off. So all of the ones that go with all of the lessons will be up there. And then there are audio actual podcasts that goes with each lesson. And the one for this one has just been done. So I'm going to do a mass upload of those today too. Do y'all have any questions before I sign us out?
Yes, ma'am, I have a question.
Give it to me, beautiful.
How do I clock in again? I didn't catch that
So
in the beginning.
in your case, you haven't gotten the Jibble login yet. Dawn
Okay.
texted me and said for you and Crystal, it was giving her some weird warning sign. So she's clocked you in and out today, but you should have an email from Jibble, Jibble, both of you ladies. As soon as we can figure out what this, it's something about, girl, Jibble has been killing me with the geotags and all the things. But once I figure out what it is given Dawn, you'll get an email. So just keep a lookout for that. And then you'll be able to download the app and then clock in and out using the app.
Okay, and then last question, how do I submit my work?
Dropbox. Have you not gotten the Dropbox submission link?
No.
I will make sure you have that when we get off.
I think I need that too.
Okay. I will give you a link to Crystal. When we get off, I'll be a text to you with the link to get it to your Dropbox. I will tell both of you ladies this. I am a Pisces. I get distracted. So if you don't have that link in 30 minutes, text Dawn. I got distracted.
So
But you'll
just
have
Okay.
that.
a Pisces too.
Girl, 'cause in my mind, I'm now like mass uploads, text link, Jibble. I promise. But I want to get into your Dropbox for the day, and I want to get those uploads back to you by election. If you don't have the Dropbox link in 30 minutes, text Dawn. Any other questions? All right, queens. I'm going to say thank you all for being on this. Y'all stuck with me the whole time. I appreciate that. If y'all have any questions outside of this, even when you're watching the replay, put them in the comment section on the first. Thank you, girl. You always make me feel like I'm a good teacher. Put them in the comment section on the main message board, because if you have the question, chances are someone in your class has a question. And then if I don't see it before Sunday, just know on Sundays I'll sit down and go through it. Okay. On that note, ladies, I'm gonna send you the link, then find something to eat, then do the mass updates. I made notes. And I will talk to y'all next week. Bye, Queens. And don't forget to start scheduling your one-on-ones. Also, Crystal, when you get time for your mocks, if you schedule your one-on-one, we can also do it together live. So not only do you have the virtual of us doing it, but we can start working on your mannequin too. Beautiful.
Okay, awesome.
All
All
right.
right,
I
I'm
will
gonna
see
get with
you ladies later.
you.
Okay.
I just got
Perfect.
to with all this schedule.
Okay. I think it said next week. It cut out a little bit. All right. Well, I'm going to log out. I will talk